Ever wished you could like magically turn enemies into friends?
And get everyone to agree with you.
Yeah. Like that's basically what today's deep dive is all about.
Cool.
We're diving into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Nice. A classic.
It's this guide that's been around for decades, helping people figure out relationships.
Yeah, and you've brought the source material excerpts from the book itself,
Well,
so
okay.
we can understand Carnegie's ideas directly from his words.
Exactly.
Very cool.
And figure out how these principles can work for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
Me too.
So the book starts off with a powerful premise.
Okay.
The idea that criticizing people is a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
He uses this example of Two Gun Crowley,
Yeah.
who was a notorious criminal, I think a bank robber.
Yeah, I remember reading about him.
And he refused to blame himself for anything,
Wow.
even when he was facing execution.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of this illustration of how much we want to deflect blame, like even in extreme situations.
Yeah. It's almost like it's built into us
Right.
to protect our ego.
Yeah.
Even when, maybe we should be taking responsibility.
Exactly.
But he's saying that instinct to criticize other people, that actually blocks us from having good relationships.
Connecting with people, yeah.
Yeah.
So he says we should look inward instead.
Okay.
He gives this example of John Wanamaker, a really successful businessman who realized that scolding his employees was pointless.
Uh-huh.
Wanamaker had this epiphany, this realization that it's way more productive to focus on self-improvement
Right.
rather than trying to change other people.
It's like that saying, be the change you want to see.
Exactly. You can't force people to change,
Yeah.
but you can change yourself.
Right.
And that can influence the people around you.
It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah, like a ripple effect.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that brings us to principle 1.
Okay.
Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Such a simple idea.
Yeah. But so powerful.
Yeah.
And I feel like anyone listening to this can probably think about a time when they were constantly criticized.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Awful.
Right.
It just makes you feel negative and defensive. It
Shit.
pushes people away instead of closer.
Totally. So if we shouldn't criticize, then how do we actually get people to do?
Yeah, how do we influence them?
Yeah. How do we influence them?
Well, Carnegie has this really powerful concept, the eager want.
Eager want. Okay.
The idea that you can only get someone to do something if they actually want to do it.
It's like intrinsic motivation
Right.
instead of forcing it.
Exactly. You're not forcing or manipulating them.
Right.
It's about tapping into their own desires and motivations.
So how do you do that?
Well, he illustrates this with a story about a dad who was having trouble getting his son excited about kindergarten.
Oh, yeah. Starting school can be scary.
Right. So instead of forcing the issue,
Yeah.
this dad, Stan Novak, turned getting ready for kindergarten into fun activities.
Cool.
Like finger painting, singing songs.
So he made it fun.
Exactly. He made it something the kid wanted to do.
And it worked.
It totally worked. The little boy was so excited to start school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great example of how understanding someone's perspective can totally change the outcome.
Right. So it's not about what the dad wanted. It's about what the kid wanted.
Exactly.
It reminds me of that Henry Ford quote.
Oh, yeah.
If there is any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own.
Wow, that's a good one.
Right.
Right.
It's so true.
I feel like that's really important.
It changes everything.
Yeah, how you approach people, how you talk to them, even how you disagree with them.
Totally. And Carnegie himself used this principle when he was negotiating a lower rent for a ballroom he was renting,
Interesting.
instead of arguing about his own financial needs.
He focused on what the landlord would get out of it.
Smart.
He explained how having the ballroom available for other events could actually make the landlord more money in the long run.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Right.
That's thinking outside the box.
It's about shifting your perspective
Yeah.
and realizing that everyone has their own motivations.
So these first few chapters are all about laying the groundwork for building relationships, right?
Exactly.
Like setting the stage.
Yeah, it's like building a house.
Okay.
You can't just start putting up walls without a good foundation.
You need the foundation first
Right?
and understanding the other person.
Yeah, that's your foundation.
That's so cool.
It is cool.
So how do we actually put all of this into practice?
Well, that's where it gets really exciting.
Okay.
Carnegie gives us 6 powerful principles for winning friends and influencing people. And these aren't just like vague ideas.
Okay.
He tells stories and gives examples from real life.
That makes it easier to remember.
Exactly. And it makes the principles way more actionable.
So principle number 1.
Coming right up. Okay, so principle 1.
Okay.
It's all about genuine interest.
Hmm.
Carnegie says to become genuinely interested in other people.
Okay.
And he tells this story about this botanist
Yeah.
who thought Carnegie was a great conversationalist,
Interesting.
even though Carnegie barely said a word.
Wow. So how'd he do that?
It was because of Carnegie's genuine interest in the botanist's work.
Okay.
He really listened,
Mhm.
asked thoughtful questions, made the botanist feel like he was the most important person there.
It's kind of like that thing we were talking about earlier
Yeah.
about understanding the other person's perspective.
Right.
Like, you can't just pretend to be interested. You have to really be curious.
Exactly.
People can tell if you're faking it.
They can, but when you're genuinely interested in what they have to say,
Mm-hmm.
you show them respect,
Yeah.
and that creates a natural connection.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about principle 2?
This one's simple but powerful.
Okay.
Smile.
Smile.
Yeah.
Like, just smile at people.
Yeah. Carnegie thought a genuine smile could just disarm people
Okay.
and create a more positive environment.
I get that.
It's contagious, you know?
Yeah, it's true. When someone smiles at you, you want to smile back.
Right. You instantly feel better. It's like there's a reason for that.
Oh, yeah.
Smiling actually releases and
Oh, wow.
it reduces stress and boosts your mood.
Interesting.
And not just for you, but for the person you're smiling at, too.
Like you're sharing a little bit of happiness.
Exactly.
It reminds me of those programs they have in some companies,
Yeah.
like the phone power program,
Uh-huh.
where they encourage employees to smile while talking on the phone.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And it's crazy how much of a difference it makes.
Right. You can hear it in their voice.
Yeah. Even though you can't see them.
Exactly. Even these little things can impact how people perceive you.
So what's principle 3?
Okay, this one is super important if you want to make a good impression.
Okay.
Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
You know, remembering names is hard for me.
Yeah.
I'll meet someone new,
Uh-huh.
and 2 minutes later, I've completely forgotten their name.
It happens.
It's so embarrassing.
I know, but think about it.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel when someone remembers your name?
Oh, it's great.
You feel seen, right?
Yeah. Like they were paying attention.
Exactly, like you actually made an impression on them.
It feels good.
It does. And Carnegie highlights this guy, Jim Farley.
Right.
He was a political strategist,
Huh.
and he was known for remembering people's names.
So?
Apparently, he could remember the names of like 50,000 people.
What?
I know, it's crazy.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing skill.
Yeah.
And it was super helpful for him in his job.
Right, making connections.
Yeah, building relationships and making allies.
That's so cool.
It is cool. And even President Roosevelt, as busy as he was,
Mm-hmm.
he made an effort to remember the names of everyone he met.
Everyone.
Yeah, from important people to just regular folks.
Wow.
It's a good reminder that even these small things can make a big difference.
Yeah, they do.
So what about principle 4? Ready for this one?
Yeah, hit me with it.
Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves.
I like that one.
It kind of goes back to that idea of genuine interest we were talking about.
Right.
You have to really listen to what someone's saying and
Yeah.
make them feel heard.
Make them feel understood.
Exactly. And sometimes that means not talking so much yourself.
That's hard.
I know, right?
Sometimes I'm so busy thinking about what I want to say
Uh-huh.
that I'm not really listening.
It's easy to do that.
Yeah?
But when you become a good listener,
Uh-huh.
you can really connect with people on a deeper level.
That's powerful.
It is. Carnegie tells this story about a businessman who got this huge order just by listening to the company president.
Really?
Yeah, the president had laryngitis and couldn't really talk.
Oh, wow.
So the businessman just sat there and listened.
Interesting.
And it turned out to be the best thing he could have done.
He got the order.
He got the order
Wow, just by listening.
just by listening.
That's amazing.
It is.
So, principle 5.
All right, here we go. Talk in terms of the other person's interests.
Okay. So, find common ground.
Yeah, find that shared passion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Carnegie tells this story about a bread salesman
Okay.
who was trying to close a deal with this hotel owner,
Uh-huh.
but the owner was really stubborn, wouldn't budge.
Those are the worst.
I know, right?
So, what happened?
Well, the salesman finally figured out that the hotel owner loved gardening.
Oh, okay.
So he started talking about gardening. He closed the deal.
Wow.
Yeah, by shifting the conversation to the owner's passion, he built rapport and was finally able to influence him.
So small.
Right. It shows you how powerful it can be to understand someone's interests.
Yeah, totally.
All right, ready for the final principle?
Yes, bring it on.
Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely.
That seems pretty straightforward.
It is, but it's so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to feel valued.
Exactly. And Carnegie has all these heartwarming stories about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like this one about this lonely old woman
Okay.
who gave her car away.
Her car.
Yeah, her beloved Packard to this young man who showed her genuine appreciation.
That's so sweet.
It is. And there's another one about this architect who got this huge contract from George Eastman.
The Kodak guy.
Yeah. And all because he genuinely admired the woodwork in Eastman's office.
You're kidding?
Nope. It's incredible how much these acts of kindness and appreciation can impact people.
Yeah, even small things.
It's all about recognizing that everyone deserves to feel valued. Not for what they can do for you, but just for who they are. So we've got these 6 principles, like a toolkit for building relationships.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It is. But it's not just about making friends, right?
Yeah, what else is there?
Well, these principles can help us navigate disagreements.
Okay.
And even get people to see things our way.
So we can use these principles to actually influence people.
Exactly. And that's what we'll dive into next.
So we've talked about building relationships
Uh-huh.
and how to, be persuasive.
Right, how to get people to see things your way.
Yeah, but Carnegie takes it a step further
He does.
in the last part of the book.
Yeah, it gets really interesting.
This idea of making people glad to do what you want.
I know, it sounds kind of crazy.
It does. Like, can you really make someone want to do something?
Well, that's what Carnegie says.
Mm.
He thinks it's all about understanding how people think
Yeah.
and like tapping into what they already want.
Yeah, like their desires.
Right.
So it's not about forcing them to do something. Okay, so how do you do that?
He gives this example of an executive
Okay.
who had an employee who never wanted to do what he was told.
Ugh, I've had coworkers like that.
The worst. Right.
Yeah, so what happened?
Well, the employee just refused to clean the stockroom.
Classic power struggle.
I know. But instead of ordering him to do it, the executive appealed to the employee's pride.
Interesting.
He was like, look, a well-organized stockroom makes the whole company look good.
So he made it about something bigger than just cleaning.
Right. And he said that it would reflect well on the employee, too.
Like he was contributing to the success of the company.
Exactly.
That's smart.
And it worked. The employee was suddenly all about cleaning the stockroom.
Wow, that's a good trick.
It's not really a trick. It's more like understanding what motivates people.
I guess so.
And Carnegie uses this example from his own life.
Oh, yeah.
As a kid,
Okay.
he was trying to get this group of boys to put out their bonfire.
Oh, I remember that story.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah.
It shows how important it is to see things from other people's perspectives.
So the kids were just having fun.
Yeah, they loved their bonfire.
But it was dangerous, right?
Yeah, and young Dale wanted them to put it out,
Okay.
but instead of yelling at them,
Uh-huh.
he talked to them.
What do you say?
He explained that an unattended fire could spread
Right.
and damage the trees.
Makes sense.
And he even said they could get in trouble with the authorities.
But he didn't make them feel bad about having the bonfire in the first place.
Right? He acknowledged that they were having fun.
So he found that balance between being firm but also understanding.
Exactly. And it worked. The boys put out the fire.
That's awesome. So it's not just about telling people what to do.
Nope.
It's about understanding why they're doing it in the first place.
Yeah, and appealing to their better nature.
Like that Napoleon quote.
Oh, yeah. Men are ruled by toys.
I know, it sounds kind of cynical.
It does, but Carnegie says it's just how people are. We all have desires, things that motivate us.
Like recognition.
Yeah, or appreciation, or a sense of accomplishment.
So if you can figure out what those desires are, you can get people to do things without forcing them.
Exactly. Like in that story about the woman with the lawn.
Oh, yeah, what was that one again?
She was having trouble with kids walking on her grass.
Right.
Nothing worked
Mm-hmm.
until she made the biggest troublemaker, her detective.
Oh, yeah. I remember now he had to keep the other kids off the lawn.
Exactly. She gave him a sense of authority.
So he felt important.
Right. And it totally worked.
It's amazing how these principles work in so many different situations.
I know, right?
Whether you're at work or just dealing with your neighbors.
It all comes back to understanding people.
Yeah, and seeing things from their perspective.
And that's really the biggest takeaway from this book.
How to win friends and influence people.
It's not just about tricks or manipulation.
It's about building genuine connections.
Yeah, and making people feel valued.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
think about how you can use these principles in your own life,
That's a great idea.
whether it's at work, with your family, or just with your friends.
These principles can really make a difference.
They can help you build stronger relationships.
And achieve your goals.
Exactly. And it all starts with that genuine interest in others
Remembering that everyone has their own story.
and their own motivations,
And that's the key to unlocking those eager wants.
and making people glad to do what you want.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive,
It was my pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.